why transformation is bullshit. I mean, really, at the end of the day, right? Because, and I'm saying this, I know it sounds contradictory because we're talking about change here and improving yourself. But over the last 2 decades, like since we entered this area of personal development, and every coach and everybody out there is, throwing out the term transformation, it has lost its value. To be honest, I don't even think it's just lost its value. I would bet that most don't even really know what it means. I mean, heck, I don't even know what it means myself. But what I do know, and I believe, is what it should mean. And John and I are going to attempt to kind of reinforce this belief through Bulletproof Men and all of its, organizations like the Bulletproof Husband. So what transformation should mean in our minds is permanent change. Okay? Again, what transformation should mean in our head, in our mind, and is that it's permanent change, right? A state, that you get to from which you cannot come back to the previous state, right? Which you departed from. So point A, you go through permanent change to point B, and you cannot go back. Okay? Not because you don't want to go back, or not because you don't need to go back, or not because you force yourself, right? But because you have gone through a physiological change that alters every cell in your body, which now naturally behaves differently and allows you to embrace the new you. When you do emotional work and you get rid of your insecurities and you pull bullets, that's exactly what takes place. When you get rid of suppressed hurt, that's what it does, right? Now, to do this, when attempting to change kind of any behavior, which is really the reason why we want to transform, focus on the following, okay? Now, I do want to put a disclaimer there that to do what we're about to tell you, we would want you to do this somewhere private where you are not worried about others seeing you, okay? Because it becomes a distraction and you may not be able to express yourself the same way as if somebody was there versus when somebody's not there, okay? All right, so first, identify what behavior you want to change. When anybody embarks on transformation, clearly there are things that are not working in their life that they want to change. And this comes with behaviors that they don't want in their life. Okay? So get clear, actually make a list on paper. What are the different behaviors that I'm doing, whether it's at work, whether it's at home with my wife, with my kids, with my friends, with my business, with my employees, whatever that may look like. Look at what are the behaviors that you're not proud of and is contrary to who you want to be as a man. And then look at which of those are out of control. And what I mean by this is you're doing the behavior even though you know you shouldn't. Okay? And then you want to identify where those behaviors came from. Okay? And this is still intellectual part. This is still the intellectual part of the exercise. Like, where did you learn that? Try to intellectually identify. Where did you learn that behavior? Where did it enter in your life? How far can you remember the first signs? What are the first memories that you have of that behavior? Even if it was in a milder form or not, right? Maybe you interrupt your wife all the time and you don't want that behavior to be around in your marriage anymore. Well, where did that start? How long can you go back to see where you haven't been able to listen to somebody without interrupting them? Right? Before your wife, high school, maybe even before that, your friends, right? And start making some notes as to the different times where you can notice throughout your life doing that. Okay? Now, next, you want to understand that insecurities are keeping these behaviors in place. The only reason you would be out of control with any single behavior is because insecurities, suppressed hurts, are trying to protect you, and they're forcing you to behave in ways that you don't want to, so that you don't have to feel the hurt and the pain of the suppressed hurt. Okay, let's go through a very simple example. You think you're stupid. Now, you haven't labeled yours. You don't think, like, this sounds weird for you, me saying it. Just keep an open mind. You were grade 2, and the teacher called you in front of the class and asked you to do an equation in math, or recite something, a poem, or talk about some event in history, and you totally flopped. And the teacher called you stupid, right? Embarrassed you in front of everybody. Now, as a child, you're incapable of blaming others for getting hurt, but you're going to blame yourself. Oh my God, somebody just called me stupid in front of the class. That must be true. I didn't know. So you label yourself as stupid. And then you start to suppress the behaviors that came with that, or sorry, you start to suppress the feelings and the hurt that came with that being labeled. And then you start to create overcompensating behaviors to overcompensate for that pain. So you don't have to feel that again. So somebody who labeled themselves as stupid, what they'll do is they'll start to do things that makes them look smart. Getting multiple degrees, reading a lot, over-explaining, justifying, interrupting, having the need to be right? Just to name a few examples of this. And there you go. I just listed 4, 5, 6, 7 different behaviors that are driven by an insecurity, which you got when you were in grade 2 in this example. Okay? So you need to understand that. And then the next thing is you need to connect. You need to connect with the negative feelings that you get when you do execute the unwanted behaviors. Like when you're constantly interrupting your wife and she calls you out on it and you see she's not getting what she wants, but you just feel out of control. You feel like shit. It doesn't feel nice. You know, you're just like, you're there. You know what you're supposed to do and listen and be there and present, but you just can't because everything is firing. She calls you a name or she says something vulnerable. You just got to dive in and interrupt her, right? Finish her sentences and over-explain or justify when she calls you out for you not taking the garbage out and why. Any of that, right? I'm just running through examples. You got to connect with the feelings that causes you, okay? And then once you've done that, you now have to physically allow your body to feel the fears and then allow your body to express it, to emote it. This is really important, without any talking. Okay, so it might show up in the form of anger, where you scream or yell. You might be crying, you might be sobbing. Those are some things that your body might want to express the feelings in, like caveman stuff, right? Like cavemen didn't know how to speak, right? But they had tribal rituals to get rid of stuff, right? When they went out hunting and the saber-toothed lion or tiger was chasing them and they successfully evaded and went back home to the village, they had tribal rituals to cleanse themselves, right? This is your cleansing. It sounds voodoo, but think about it. In our example, a grade 2 did not think his way into that pain. He felt his way, and you suppressed it. And you've been told all your life that feelings are for the weak. You've got to push them away. Now, you want to be able to express it, because that's the only way to get rid of the insecurity for like permanently, and go through that physiological change. John, anything you want to add here?
Just to highlight that it's training that muscle, right? So for so many men, this is something new, right? They're not just gonna go the first time and attempt it, and it's gonna be like they're gonna knock it out of the park. It's very unlikely that that's gonna happen. And I want to highlight that because so that you don't get disheartened. You don't go, well, this doesn't clearly doesn't work, or I tried to think about where it came from, or nothing came up for me. But just buy into the concept, because I'm asking you to buy in because we know it works. I'm asking you to buy in because we have thousands of men that it has worked for. And yes, there's been thousands of men also who it didn't work for the first time, right? It's something brand new for you to go and experience.
Yep.
So taking the action of going for your first experience, that's the win. If something comes up, if you deal with something, if hurt comes up, if anger comes up, that's a bonus win on top of it. But again, just clear the space for the fact that, yeah, it's going to take multiple turns, opportunities for you to actually go and do this work and attempts. That's all.
Yeah, look, yeah. I mean, we get it. We get it that this may be foreign or not easy. And as long as you trust us, you got to be honest with yourself that, okay, like if they've been doing this for a decade and it's clearly working, there must be something to it. If you're open to that, then I want to keep my promise and keep giving you opportunities and value and actionable steps.